We're going to call to order the Effingham County Board of Commissioners meeting this January 7th, 2020 at 5 o'clock. I'm asking everyone to please rise for the invocation and stand for the pledge of allegiance. Gracious Father, we thank you for this opportunity to come again to be with our constituents and be with this distinguished board and to listen to the business at hand. And Father, we pray for your discernment as we make decisions that will be pleasing to you and good for our community. We thank you for this new year and the opportunity that it holds before us. And so we give thanks tonight in the mighty name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The next item on the agenda is the election of vice chair for the new year. Normally we do a rotation of that, or encourage to do a rotation. The board can nominate who they would like. We normally fall to Commissioner Floyd, but he's not here tonight. He just soon not be a part of that rotation this year. He likes where he's at there. So I'm going to ask if I get a nomination for Mr. Deloach to start the rotation back over, meaning that Mr. Burdett will still be on the board and probably give him another year to get his feet a little more wet. So if I got a nomination, I'm going to suggest for Mr. Deloach.
I'll make a motion to nominate Commissioner Deloach to act as vice chair for 2020.
Second.
Have a nomination at second, and I believe we have a balance before us. If you could take your ballot, and I hope you will be unified in the support of the nomination, but you can vote for whoever you'd like to. If you complete that nomination and fold it, our clerk will gather it and she'll read the results. Read the
All
results,
ballots have
please.
been received.
You should have four ballots.
I have. Yes, sir, I have 4. And the votes are as follows. For the 2020 vice chair for the Board of Commissioners, Commissioner Burdett votes for Commissioner Deloach, Commissioner Kiefer, Commissioner Deloach, Commissioner Deloach, Commissioner Deloach, and Commissioner Loper for Commissioner Deloach. So unanimous vote for Commissioner Deloach as vice chair.
So recognize you in his vote. He is our vice chair. Thank you, sir. Look forward to serving with you. You always do a great job of support. Appreciate your availability too. All right. Next item is to approve the agenda. We need a resolution to approve the agenda. I understand there are no additions or corrections. Do you have a motion to approve the agenda?
I make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Deloach, second by Mr. Kiefer to approve the agenda as presented. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed no. We have our agenda. Next is consideration to approve the December 3rd, 2019 Commissioner meeting minutes. I've read those minutes. And we made one correction where it said 14% on item 16. It should be $14 per square foot. Our clerk has made that adjustment. Are there any amendments or corrections? So can I entertain a motion to approve the minutes?
I make a motion to approve the minutes as presented with the noted correction.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Deloach, second Mr. Loper to approve the minutes with the noted correction. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed no. And it carries. Welcome everyone here who's tonight visiting with us. Appreciate the public. Just want to let you know the agenda has been posted on our website, posted with our clerk. We hope you get a chance to review that. If you want to make comments, please keep them to the agenda items and keep them brief so that others that might want to comment can comment as well. And with that, we'll move into our new business. Item number 1, consideration to approve and ratify the lease agreement with Rico USA Incorporated for Collins.
Good evening, Fiona Charlton, purchasing agent. The board approved lease agreements with Rico USA for new copiers at the November 19th meeting. After the approval, staff met with Rico to determine the placement of the copiers. At that meeting, it was determined certain copiers may be overkill and others might not meet the needs of departments that are expanding. So certain changes were made to the lease which pertain only to the actual copiers and the fee, not to any of the language. The lease amount has increased slightly due to the changes that staff have requested, but the county will still be saving over $1,100 a month over the current lease. As the go-live date for the new copiers is February the 1st, and the lead time for Rico to order the copiers is a few weeks, staff had the county manager execute the revised leases and are bringing them to the board for ratification. Other than the aforementioned changes, the lease language remains the same, therefore staff recommend alternative number 1.
Thank you. Do you have a motion for alternative number 1?
Make a motion to do all number 1. Second.
Motion by Mr. Lucas, second by Mr. Keeper. All in favor of alternative 1, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. It carries.
Thank you.
Item number 2, consideration to approve a temporary facility lease rental agreement with the City of Guyton for the use of the fire station.
Good evening, Clint Hodges, Fire Chief. Back in February, the county assumed the responsibility as the fire service provider within the City of Guyton, and we were in the process of constructing a fire station close to the roundabout on 17. But this was to actually utilize the existing station in Guyton for a period of approximately 6 months. The $500 figure was based upon the average electrical expense within the Springfield station that we're operating. So the city would provide all the utilities within that $500 per month.
Very good. So alternative 1 is to approve the rental lease agreement. Do I have a motion for alternative 1?
Make a motion to approve alternative 1.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Lowe, second by Mr. Loper to approve alternative 1. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. And carries. Thank you, sir. Item number 3, consideration to approve a final plat of the warning deed for County West Phase 4C1 located off of Noel C. Conway Road, consisting of 15 lots. Map number 419, parcel number 2.
So this is the most recent phase of Park West. You all have approved various other phases in the past year. This is for 15 lots, and you've been provided with the plat. And engineering staff have reviewed the plat, and they inspected the right-of-way and all the public utilities located within the right-of-way, and they recommend approval. Staff reviewed the final plat, the checklist, and application form. All those documents are in order. The infrastructure and maintenance security bond has been submitted, and the warranty deed was reviewed and approved by the county attorney. So staff recommends approval, that you approve the final plat of Park West Phase 4C1 and accept the right-of-way and infrastructure.
I'll answer any questions first. We'll call for a motion.
Make a motion to approve alternative number 1.
Second.
Motion to approve alternative 1 by Mr. Loper, second by Mr. Deloach. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. And carries. Item number 4, consideration to approve to authorize the chairman to sign a landfill letter for Georgia Pacific Warehouse site on Old Augusta Road South.
So Georgia Department of Natural Resources is required to review and approve all plans for the extension of water and or sewer lines that serve more than one customer. Georgia Pacific Warehouse site is not served by county water or sewer, but it will have a private water system. So the landfill letter is still required for DNR review. And actually, you all didn't have the certification letter from the engineer because due to the holidays, it just didn't get to me until very recently, but I do have it now, so this file is now complete and I'll make that available. But at this stage, what we ask is that you all authorize the chairman to sign the landfill letter, and that will be submitted to to DNR.
Just a clarification for the public, we're not approving a landfill.
No.
We're certifying there is no landfill.
We are
It is-
indeed.
To our knowledge.
To our knowledge. That's right. And that's
I
the,
hear tomorrow paper, county approved landfill, signs letter. We are not approving a landfill, it's just acknowledging we have no knowledge.
exactly. And the certification letter I refer to, that's their engineer did the survey and determined that there was no evidence of any landfill. And we are not approving landfill.
We all know that, we'll make sure everybody knows. We have a motion to approve alternative 1.
Make a motion to approve alternative 1.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Kiefer, second by Mr. Deloach to approve alternative 1. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The next item, number 5, consideration to approve a resolution to adopt a fiscal year 2019 capital improvement on element CIE annual update.
And this is the final step in the whole comprehensive plan, capital improvements element update that has gone on for the past year. And a few months ago, I was here with the resolution of transmittal. It has gone through the Regional Commission and DCA. They have approved it. We're back now to ask you to adopt it. And at that point, we will be done with this for the last fiscal year anyway. And so the alternatives are to approve the resolution adopting the fiscal 2019 CIE annual update.
And that is alternative number 1.
And yes.
Any questions or discussion? Have a motion for alternative 1. Go ahead.
Make a motion to approve alternative one.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Deloach, second by Mr. Welker for alternative 1. All in favor say aye. All opposed, no. Motion carries. Item number 7, consideration to approve to submit a secure the vote STD grant application to the Georgia Secretary of State.
Good evening, Happy New Year. Christy Carpenter, Finance Director. We have the opportunity to apply for grant funding for intern positions during the summer. We did this last year and it worked out very well. So we're asking to apply for 2 positions, one for 4-H and one for recreation. This will cover 200 internship hours per position at a rate of $12 an hour. And staff's recommending alternative 1 approval.
Okay, so it's fully funded.
Yes.
Yeah, fully reimbursed, right. Okay, any other questions?
Mr. Chairman, before you vote, just to make a note, I believe you read off item number 7 on the agenda, but she presented to you the correct information for.
She did item number 6?
Yes, sir.
All right, let me go back and make sure that you're right, I did that. Item number 6 was consideration to approve an internship grant application to ACCG, ACCG Civic Affairs Foundation. That's what we're voting on.
Yes.
Okay, that particular grant application. Do you have a motion for alternative number 1?
Make a motion to approve alternative number 1. Second.
Motion by Mr. Kiefer, second by Mr. Deloach for alternative 1. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you.
Welcome. I have
All
one.
right, now, Christie, you can address consideration to approve to submit a secured vote STV grant application to the Georgia Secretary of State.
Yes. This one is an application for Secure the Vote. It's a grant being issued by the Secretary of State in order to assist the counties in increasing cyber and physical election systems security, making polling places and voting more accessible, and providing for general implementation of the new statewide voting system. It has 3 categories. There's general election, ADA, and security. The general election is items such as tables and booths, and they will match us 1-to-1 up to $10,000. The ADA and security are for items such as wheelchairs or the level mounts for the wheelchairs, security such as cameras and access controls, and they will match either of those 3-to-1 up to $15,000. Staff recommends approval of the application, which is alternative number 1.
Do you know what the total cost of the beefing up of our security and all those things are going to be yet?
I do not have those numbers for you yet.
If we get the grant, we have to move forward.
Yes. And it is a match. So, for example, if you do security, they're going to match you 3-to-1. So if you spend $5,000, you'll get 15.
Or 200,000, 50,000.
I don't think those are the numbers. The last that I saw, the estimates come in from the Department of Elections, it was far less than 100.
Okay, you're
But the
finance
total
director.
was
You
less
should
than
know we have
100.
the budgeted funds to do this.
The estimates are coming in a lot lower.
Okay, very good.
We're good.
That's all of my questions I have. Any other questions? Motion for alternative number 1. Make a motion to approve alternative 1.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Burdette, second by Mr. Keefe for alternative number 1. All in favor say aye. All opposed, no. And carries.
Thank you.
Those grants are 100%. I'm really excited about all of the ones that we got matched. I don't know about matching shares. Item number 8, consideration to approve to accept a proposal and award a contract to Husky Gay Bell for professional services for the Hodgeville Lift Station number 4 design project.
members of the board, because of its condition, the board had budgeted the upgrade of the existing Hodgeville lift station number 4. We posted the RFP and got 4 responses. EOM reviewed the responses and narrowed them down to 2 finalists, which were interviewed and reviewed. After the review, EOM recommended awarding the contract to Hussey, Gay, Bell, and DeYoung, who were the highest ranked, and for a total contract price of $89,765. County attorney has reviewed the contract for the award.
Any questions or opinions?
Why would they pick these over the rest of them? I'm sure there's a lot of difference in the money there on that. I mean, why would they do that? I mean,
Well, a lot of it had to do with experience as well. So when they scored them, price was, and I'm trying to remember, was it 20% of the score?
I looked at it.
Yeah. I think price was about 20% of the score, and the rest was the additional criteria. Of the final 2, Hussey, Gay, and Bell was substantially lower cost than the number 2 finisher.
But these other ones that we're talking about, project approach, I don't understand exactly what that is, project approach, I mean. Hussey, Gay, and Bell was like 18.75, and some of the other ones was 17, but the rest of them is 5 and 6.
Well, one of the things was the completeness, because this is for the design, and so this requires basic modeling of the entire sewer system that we have, and so that was taken in consideration on the quality of the work. But were you part of the scoring at all?
No, I'm aware. I mean, I'm familiar
Okay.
with
You might want to come up.
Yeah, so I'm going to have Eric, since EOM scored on a professional on the engineering level prior to getting to the interviews, which I participated in, I'll have him answer some of those questions.
Yes, sir. Good evening, Eric Larson with EOM. I was not on the review panel, but staff members within EOM were, and I have reviewed all their work. This was an RFQ, request for qualifications, so 20% is cost, 80% is qualifications. So you're looking at the project approach, you're looking at the team, you're looking at the team's experience, you're looking at the firm's experience. And when Mr. Callahan mentioned completeness, some of these proposals, especially the ones with the lower scores, when you read the proposal and you can't understand their project approach, it leaves a lot of questions, and so they get points deducted for that. So we did a preliminary where we ranked all 4. We picked the 2 that appeared to be the most qualified and had the most complete proposal and approach, and then selected those 2 for interviews, and that's how we came up with Hussey, Gay, Bell. So it's really the project approach and the experience and what's going to be involved in the design, the qualifications portion of it that really tipped the scales towards this selection.
Okay, I didn't know what that project, there's a lot of difference in them, but I didn't understand.
Right.
Is this something we just started using, or is this something we used in the past?
No, it's been used in the past, yes, sir.
I like it.
RFQ, or qualifications-based selection, is pretty standard when you're doing engineering services. Now, contractors is more of a commodity. It's a bid type approach. But when you're doing professional services, you are allowed to take your comfort level with that firm and their approach and their experiences as part of the evaluation.
It allows us to pull off some of your expertise and make a good decision as
Yes.
opposed to looking at something I don't really understand as far as an engineering thing.
And hopefully minimize change orders by the completeness of the bid in response to our RFP portion of our RFQ. Asking that proposal with the cost, did they really communicate clearly what we were asking for?
One more evaluation, can you see each package that you're evaluating? Can you see the company name and everything? Is that a blind evaluation, or do you?
No, we know who the firms are. We know the team players. These packages typically have the resumes of their of key personnel that are going to be on the project. They'll list their projects with their experience by the actual owner of that project and use those as references. We check references, call it other firms and other agencies that they've worked for. Just so you know, the pricing is actually sealed and not used until we've made the initial scoring.
That part is what.
And so once the two firms have been selected for pricing, then we see, or excuse me, selected for interview, then we see the pricing. So pricing is really not in the initial review. It's supposed to be qualifications based on.
Yes, sir.
And I think the firm that you're recommending is the one that really has done a lot of modeling of our current system, right?
Yes, they do have quite a bit of experience.
So that's what helps, I think, when they're trying to build a regional lift station that's going to take care of our whole system. They've got the experience to do that. Be more comfortable we do that it's going to suffice.
Mhm.
Two of the companies, I mean, we're familiar with mine anyway, and that's what I was wanting to know the difference in the two of them. I mean, both of them Dallas and Savannah. But anyway, that's,
It's a good question, good discussion.
I guess this method just gets the best value.
I mean, I'd like to see something more blind. If you're going by experience, you can't do a total blind evaluation. You know.
You gotta get it.
You gotta
That's part of it.
It is, but the budget, I like the fact that the cost is at least blind to that end, and then it's factored in as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any other questions? Yeah, motion for alternative number one.
Commission to approve alternative one.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Burdette, second by Mr. Deloach for alternative number one. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. It carries. Item number 9, consideration to approve to revise intergovernmental agreement between the Effingham County Board of Commissioners and the City of Lincoln for the 4-hour roundabout.
Yes, in April 2019, Effingham County drafted an IGA with the City of Lincoln to have the county manage the construction of the roundabout at the intersection of Old Augusta Road and Fort Howard Road. Due to the change in staff, it was not brought to the Commissioner for approval. After construction commenced, the county passed an IGA on December 3rd of last year. It was sent to Lincoln for approval. Lincoln Council and Attorney had reviewed it and requested some additional wording, primarily due to the dollar amounts, which were not included in there, the contract dollar amounts. So we've basically accepted what their language was and reviewed it and are recommending alternative one, which is approving the IGA as amended.
Very good. Mr. Lee, you reviewed that. It didn't materially adjust anything that we approved earlier, does it?
No, sir. It was more, like Tim said, the dollar amount.
$7 estimates. Okay.
Just out of curiosity, take the state grant and the amount to be collected, there's still a shortfall. Where was that?
Yeah,
coming from? Just so I understand.
And so this is one of the things they wanted clarification on. So I believe it's 1.65 mils, somewhere around there is what was charged this year.
I believe that's correct.
And we had to estimate that because the contract had not been awarded on what we budgeted for it. It did not generate enough funds along with the state grant. So we were going to come back this year for the shortfall. And so Lincoln just simply wanted the clarification that if there's any additional funds collected, since it's being charged to the residents of Lincoln would be able to utilize those funds for road work of additional
It
projects.
looks like about 225,000.
Yeah.
Short.
I think it's a good idea to add those specific numbers in there.
It's not bad.
Actually, 253 is going to be the overage. We're going to collect beyond what we need.
Oh, I see. Oh, so I'm looking at item number one.
And that part
sorry.
go back to
well, you further roads that came in there.
We'll recoup all the money from the incorporated limits for the road, and then we'll have about 253 left over during the village at 1.65 for 2 years. And we'll give that back to them with the completion of roads.
Okay, that amount is each for 2 years. And I was assuming that amount for the 2 years, so that you would double that amount. If that makes sense.
Yeah, we're gonna get $425 from the state, $477 for the first year taxes, $477 for the next year taxes.
Yeah, that's where I was
Right,
definitely
and
seeing.
that's gonna give us a little overage. So, but really, that's gonna protect us well, until we have a change or something came up, we won't be coming up short. So we'll be able to keep that. And only the remainder will go back to the city.
So we use what we have to use and then anything up to that amount goes back to
Yeah, because of what we're paying for.
That's good.
All right, if that's clarified, I have a motion for alternative number 1.
Make a motion to approve order number 1, second.
Motion by Mr. Kiefer, second by Mr.
Commissioner Loper made the motion, sorry.
I thought you made a motion. Okay, Mr. Loper made a motion, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
And second by Mr. Kiefer. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, no. It carries. All right, thank you. Item number 10, consideration to approve a bond resolution and intergovernmental lease contract by and between the Effingham County Industrial Development Authority of Effingham County related to revenue bonds for reimbursement to finance the cost of construction for a new gym at the Morgan Complex.
Yes, the Effingham County Development Authority is issuing $5 million in revenue bonds on behalf of the county to finance the construction of the new gym at the Clarence Morgan Park. The security behind the revenue bond is essentially going to be a lease contract whereby the county will deed the property over to the authority, and the authority will use the proceeds to pay off the bonds that were used to construct the projects. The county, over the term of the financing, will lease the facility and provide payments necessary to service the debt on the bond. Once the bond is retired, the facility can be deeded back to the county. This is similar to what the county has done in the past, but when we use the ACCG for facilities with an installment sale, as I'm told, and the county acquires the property back over time, the financing. I will be at the Development Authority meeting, board meeting tomorrow, assuming this gets approved tonight, to answer any questions with regards to the bond resolution that they have to pass in conjunction with this, as well as the leaseback agreement. Staff recommends alternative number 1 to approve the bond resolution with Effingham County Development Authority.
Very good. I recognize there are some guests related to this. I don't want to come along with it.
Yes.
It's
going to I'll make it short.
Yeah, we'll give you a chance. You've earned the right to at least address it.
Thank you very much. My name is Tom Woodward from Atlanta, and I work with First Tryon Advisors, and our firm serves as your municipal financial advisor. Through this process, working with staff for the bond financing, we ran a competitive bid process and bid out this financing to approximately 24 different banks, of which 9 banks responded looking to buy your bonds. When we look at bidding out the process, it's not only based on the ultimate interest rate, but also terms and covenants associated with that, such as prepayment flexibility. Are there any prepayment penalties? Are they willing to go out a certain term? For example, this one being 15 years. And so we went through that process and determined, winning provider of Zion's Bank at a very attractive rate of 2.16%, and with no prepayment penalties at all over the 15-year period. So very attractive. For what it's worth, this bank also was a purchaser of a 15-year transaction for Bryan County on a very similar size project, type of project, size project that we just did last month. But that's the role we serve. I know John's got some additional information he could share with you, but any questions about the bidding process for the banks? There we go. Thank you.
And you'll be glad to know you are 3 basis points less than Bryan County. So
Yes.
You left that part out.
State your name for the record.
That's right. I'm John Pennell. I'm a lawyer in Savannah and acting as y'all's bond counsel in association with the county attorney. What we've got tonight is a resolution that ratifies the bond resolution and also authorizes the chairman to sign the lease with the authority. As the county administrator mentioned, the development authority meets tomorrow morning. We're planning on being at that meeting. They actually are the ones that issue or adopt the bond resolution since they're the issuer of the bond. We assume that will go through tomorrow morning. Assuming that it does, we do have to go through bond validation. All bonds in Georgia have to be validated by the Superior Court before they can be issued. And so we've been coordinating that with the county attorney and the authority attorney. We anticipate to do that in the next 3 to 4 weeks and then close on the bond issue about a month from now. And so assuming y'all approve it tonight, the authority approves it tomorrow morning, and then the validation process goes through, we should have $5 million issued in about 30 days to go towards this new gymnasium project.
Very good. Appreciate your work on that.
And Tom, I do have a few questions.
Yes.
You said the rate is 2.6?
2.16.
Okay. How's our flexibility? Say we get 5 million, say the project's 4.7. I mean, can we put 300 as principal reduction, or?
Yes.
We do have that flexibility.
You do. You have complete flexibility, so you can prepay any or all at any time during the 15 years with no prepayment penalties.
That's really good.
Mm-hmm.
I noticed what we talked about, sometimes when you get the lower rate, you don't have the flexibility that you'd like, but that's
Exactly.
a great deal.
At 2.16, if you don't have to pay it on, you might want to
Add the
investments.
Yeah.
What are we earning at our,
Last month was 1.64.
it's not much difference there. If it was a project we needed, a small amount. So
Yeah, great deal.
that's great.
2.16 fixed, so it's not floating. So you're right, there could be a play down the road if interest rates change a little bit, keep that debt outstanding.
Yeah, if there's a project we need to match on or something, yeah.
And I'll say a couple things. One of them is that we can use this for items that we previously paid soft costs associated with the gymnasium, and like architecture on it, and the furniture, fixtures, and equipment of it as well. And so that if we're essentially acting as a reimbursement for soft costs that's already paid, that frees up SPOS funds for other eligible projects. And the award for the contract on this will be on the January 21st agenda.
What was that amount again? I can't remember.
4.5 million, somewhere, I think, approximately there. Or
Yeah, I like that.
4.35, I forget.
Possibility of using our soft costs, we consider it a workshop, because we've already fixed in our short-term work program or capital project from a payment schedule that's in our budget. So this basically would replenish reserves that we used already on soft costs.
Correct.
So 2 ways of possibly moving forward. Excellent work. Thank you, gentlemen, for being with us tonight.
Sure.
This
Thank you.
accomplished.
Thank you.
Okay,
They don't even have questions because I'm agree. Do we use the industrial authority as an arm to do this? Or can we not do that as a county? Or is this something we would normally do with the industrial authority to beat something out of it?
They have the authority.
We had the authority to issue
The bond part, so the county
Yeah,
doesn't.
John can run with it.
So we.
Sure,
it's
yeah.
probably a legal question.
So y'all got a pretty unique development authority in Effingham County. It's a constitutionally created authority, so it's got some broader powers than a statutory development authority. We've got one in Chatham County as well. CETA is a constitutional authority. So they have the powers to do this type of project. And so their involvement really in this instance is purely as a conduit. They're issuing the revenue bond on behalf of the county. The intergovernmental lease contract is really the security behind it to repay that revenue bond.
So if we try to do that as a county ourselves, we would be just bank financing type thing.
You would have to either issue it probably as a general obligation bond, meaning you'd have to go have a referendum, or you'd have to structure it as you've done in the past, as the county administrator mentioned, through ACCG. They've got a lease purchase process. The disadvantage of the ACCG is it's a year-to-year lease, and a lot of times these banks will penalize you because it's just not as good a security as an intergovernmental lease type contract. So there are, I guess, financing alternatives, but in working with y'all's financial advisor and the staff, this was recommended as the best way to do the gymnasium project.
I see. Thank you.
All right, do I have a motion for alternative number one?
Make a motion to approve alternative one.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Deloach, second by Mr. Loper for alternative one. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Motion carries. I believe we're to the last item, number 11. Consideration to approve a resolution to authorize the county attorney to enact legal action through condemnation.
Yeah, this is related to the open projects with regards to Effingham Parkway. And so there are several parcels that either have requested or through failure through negotiation and the appeals process have gone to condemnation. This would allow the county attorney to proceed with those condemnations.
So other than a final resolution, legally this will conclude the new ways and get it into the hands of DOT that we have all the right-of-way security.
That's correct. This is the last step. It still could lead to a traditional closing without having to go through the formal process of the condemnation, but as you know, time's running out, but we need to get moving.
Typically, when we were doing this, and we've got to get, so we can let this contract. So that's great. Parkway is inside and with this actually, it's approved. That's good. Any questions or discussions? Take a motion to approve alternative number one.
I'll make a motion to approve alternative one.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Burdette, second by Mr. Loper to approve alternative number one. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed no. And it carries. All right, we'll see if we have any reports from our administrative staff tonight.
Just have one introduction to make. We've added a member of our staff to assist our purchasing agent. Her name is Allison Brute. She, some of you may know her. She used to be the clerk and the interim administrator in the city of Guyton. She joined our team on Monday. So welcome aboard.
Well, we're delighted to have you. I can't see you.
That's her right there. She's not standing up. There.
But that's good news, but brings sad news, because our purchasing agent does such a wonderful job. We are going to miss you terribly. And I'm hoping we'll have you for a little while as you're training, but you've done an outstanding job. We appreciate you, and you'll be heading back to some colder country.
Sometimes.
Something in winter time, sure. We appreciate you. Welcome aboard. Okay, anything else from our committee?
And that's all I have.
Very good. I see you passed out something to us, Ms. Stephanie.
Yes, sir.
What else is the session? You have any reports tonight?
Just reminders of the Effingham Day at the Capitol. That's going to be on February 10th and 11th. However, we do have a retreat prior to beginning on the 8th. Also, this is an announcement for the Capital Connection Conference that's held every year by ACCG. It's on Thursday, February 27th and Friday the 28th. I know that Commissioner Loper is interested in attending. If any of you are interested in attending, please let me know so I can get you registered.
Okay.
And that is all I have.
And are you already got our reservations for the Capitol?
We're all good
Conference?
to
Need to
go.
do anything else other than show up
That's it.
before 2 o'clock?
Correct.
So we can start our workshop at 2
At
o'clock?
2, yes, sir.
Okay, very good. All right. Anything for the rest of the staff? Just if you do, you'll go on your meeting, but that's okay. We'll go around the board, Mr.
I don't have anything, but what I had, I've already talked to Tim about it, so.
I have one quick thing, Charles. I still have some citizens that are having issues on right off the Long Pond Road. There, Timber Creek Preserve. It's a subdivision that recently went in, but they used a right of way that also accesses 4 homes that were previously that have been there. And I just really need to try to work through that with them. There seems to be a stalemate on their perception of what was expected and what they want to do. So
Okay.
any help there? And I have the contact info for one. I've asked them to at least just have one kind of be the spokesman, so, but anyway, I'll get,
Okay.
I'd just like to reach out and somehow try to bring that to a resolution.
Yeah, I'll try and set up a meeting. I'll get the information from you.
That's it.
Me and Tim, you know, today with very nice folks here, we're trying to get some resolve on Robbins Road, and I understand it's already on the list to do that. To prevent that in the future, is there some way we can put a list of upcoming projects on our website or something, so the public can get knowledge, hey, my road's coming up to be fixed or something like that? Because this has been 2 or 3 or 4 times where I've had a constituent call in and that's not all about the county, and we figured out what it is, and we've done this going back to one thing, and it's not good. You know, we need a better system of it.
What I think we can do is on items that have been approved by the commission, like a good example is when we just approved the LMIG list, last fall. It took 3 months or so to get all the projects done. We can put those on the homepage. This was an Ash Road project, and I think we approved those, from my understanding, about twice a year, because they can only be done in the warmer months. And so when those are approved, we can put them on there as well. There's about 4 that are left from the summer-fall list that we're going to try and find pockets of warm weather in the winter time to get complete. So I can put those 4 on there. The LMEG's already done, but from this point forward, anything that we've got approved to complete by the board, we can try and put some sort of link on the homepage that lets people know.
Is there anything else that we can do, I can do to help you? I know you're just bombarded with projects.
Well, I think what we
can
can
do, I'll send an email, okay, say good, and I'll forget about it. And then sometimes it falls through the cracks. Well, it's not entirely your fault. I should have followed up myself. So, what can I do on my end to assist you in what you're doing?
Well, what I think we can do better is when we approve these lists, just give the individual commissioners the roads that are in their district, so that they can have something easily that they can reference if somebody calls them, to let them know that, because normally when we have a list of roads that are getting complete, whether it's LMEG or the surface treatment from the storm, they're usually kind of distributed fairly evenly throughout the district. So just provide you with a list that's divided that way, so you can refer to it if you get a phone call on it.
Sorry to be smart. I was teasing about that. You got all that.
Yes, sir.
All right. Any other comments from anyone? Do we have a need for executive session tonight? Okay. So we need to approve the executive session minutes. Last item on the agenda. November 19, 2019 commission meeting. You have the time here.
It's the very 3rd day of December.
3rd day of December.
It's great on mine.
So you got to have a new agenda.
Your new agenda, that's on the.
Okay, all right, so you have a motion to approve the executive session minutes for December 3rd.
Make a motion to approve the executive session minutes from December 3rd,
Second.
2019.
All right, we have a motion by Mr. Rhodes, second Mr. Loper, to approve the executive session minutes for December 3rd, 2019. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. And carried. All right. I should have kept the agenda still on my desk tonight, instead of the one I got Thursday. I didn't know that. Do you have a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Motion Mr. Loper, second by Mr. Rhodes to adjourn the meeting. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. And carried.